with the establishment of state police in Nigeria. But today the council have decided to step down the discussion until the next council meeting, because we need to come up with a report from the secretariat, and after the report there will be deliberation in the next meeting that is likely taking place in January, and many states are in agreement for the establishment of state police, considering the fact that virtually every state have their peculiarity in terms of the problem we're having of insecurity in our own states. And knowing fully that we have a lot of ungoverned space in Nigeria, and knowing fully also that we have a lot of deficit in terms of number of boots on ground, looking at the fact that a lot of security agencies, the police, the army, and other relevant security agencies have no personnel to cover all the ungoverned space.
Okay, so that is next here today on Sunrise. We've got two gentlemen, as you may have seen, joining us to at least weigh in on this subject matter. Professor Kemi Rotimi is a historian of the police and policing. He's based in Ile-Ife. He joins us virtually. We also do have Mr. Wilson Alegu, former AIG of Police. Good morning. Thank you for coming on today.
I'm happy to be here again.
Okay, so you heard the governors there say majority of them support this. So that seems to have allayed the fears that many people have. And so when you get this perspective from governors, what goes through your mind?
Well, I think governors have always advocated, some of them, advocated for state police, that they can be chief security officers of their states and they have no control of the police force. But I think my position has been that state police is not bad altogether. But there were factors that led to the unification both of the local government and the chief authority police forces. And the question that I continue to ask, have those reasons disappeared? We are larger now, much more complex, much more diverse. When, in 1967 March, when the Supreme Leader has then called, Aguiyi-Ironsi, instituted the Gobi panel, I think Nigerian population was no more than 33 or thereabout. And the challenges we have today in terms of security were not there then. But the behavior of leaders then, politicians then, became a point that if you don't belong to their party, they harass you and they do all manner of things to you. In terms of dressing, they were shabby, they were uncoordinated, and it didn't just work well with the people. And now that we are such a complex and diverse people, a lot of people traveling from one place to the other, how do you deal with the issues of exclusivity or inclusivity? If you are not from a state and they have all manner of laws, what do you do about it? How do you address the issue of maturity by politicians? Look at the recent local government elections. They were sham. They were just selection. The state INEC, controlled by the governors. I don't think the elections they conducted met any standard of fairness or credibility or free and all that. So the fears, it's not that it is not good. But I think in dealing with the issues of crime, it is not only intimate knowledge of the environment is good. Those are most of the reasons that they gave. You have to have intimate knowledge of the environment. You have to know the people's habit, and all those things will help you on governed spaces. But I tell you that as a police officer who have served in various places, I've been DPO in divisions in Niger State. I'm not from Niger, but I understood the place perhaps more than those people who come from there. And I had the support of the community. So we are dealing with the issues of safety of our communities. We are dealing with the issues of trust and confidence. Once you're able to address those issues, it's the issue of trust. Do I trust that this police force that will be established will meet the demands of creating safer societies?
Okay. Well, Professor Kemirotimi also joins us. Prof, good morning and good to see you again. Could you, let's get your perspective on some of the concerns that Ms. Enalego has raised that haven't been there. So, genuine concerns, but how would you respond to them?
How genuine are these genuine concerns? Nice to see Mr. Enalego. I didn't know he has run back from Sierra Leone. Welcome back home.
Thank you.
Now, what many do not know, Nigeria is not about to create state police. Nigeria is about to recreate state policing and deregulate policing so that control can be exercised, ownership and control can be exercised at multi-levels, not just this one central organization. Mr. Nalego has talked about local knowledge, but then this concerns local election and all that. How many federal elections have been free of rancor or queries? Up to now, there are still people who think that the 2023 elections are not free and fair. And then, let me say this, the worst fear that most people who worry about state police have is this thing about misuse by politicians. Any politician who owns or controls police at any level and misuses the police is a fool, because then you have to pray to die in office. If you do not die in office, what you have used the police to do against your opponents today, they could also be used to deal with you when you're out of office. Many people do not know. The police do not owe loyalty to individuals. They owe loyalty to regimes. In the third world setting, policing is more about regime stability. You see, when the British went out to govern, they had two philosophies of policing. And then one was for likes to police likes, another one for strangers to police strangers. The one about strangers policing strangers is the one that operates with the Nigeria Police Force. The one that was for likes to police like was the one used for native authority and local government police. Mr. Analego happens to come from a part of northern Nigeria that did not embrace native authority policing. They saw the thing in his part of northern Nigeria, the Doma, what is today Benny Axis, as hegemony through the back door. So the fear about misuse of police will remain forever, whether it is owned only by the federal government or owned at other levels. But the current Nigerian constitution with term limitations for the executive is a fantastic measure against arbitrariness by the political governing elite. Because in the Nigerian context, you can only govern for 8 years at the maximum. If you are an elected governor, if you are a legislator, you may be lucky. But after 8 years as Mr. Governor, you step down. We don't have enough time now to go into this, and let me just quickly warn. The next time you invite me, if it is not going to be up to 1 hour, I will not come. But even short as this is, I will maximize the advantage. So the fear of police being misused exists now, will exist when state police are permitted at other levels. But if the focus is on crime control, there should be no problem. If any governor misuses police, the governor should die in office. Let me cite an example. Take Ogun State politics, for instance. Between 1999 and now, look at the relationship between those who have governed the state. Just look at it. We don't have enough time for me to elaborate. But in my book, the first edition of which both of interviewing me now have, the last chapter there talks about what happened in Eastern Nigeria, where there was no state police in the First Republic. the Nigeria police force was the only police, who are the politicians in the eastern region, did they not attempt to misuse them? So this argument is a non-issue.
Can we really dismiss it, Prof? Can we really? And I think your warning to us is noted.
No, if Prof doesn't come, I'll deploy state police against you. I will invite you for 30 minutes, Prof.
Well, just to say, I'm just wondering, Prof, I mean, if what it is that you've stated about regime stability is the reason why policing in third world countries has always existed for. And right now, the reason why we are asking for state police is because of crime control and prevention. That's why the outcry is now so big. Can we really dismiss, you know, the fears around misuse and abuse when we look at what has happened with local governments and local government autonomy? I mean, when we look at what has happened with CX, for instance, some people will say that, you know, if this is what we're seeing with CX, what then would we see with, you know, state police? Can we really dismiss the fears with a wave of the hand?
Well, by my intellectual exertions of over 42 years now, I'm in a position to argue both for those who want state police and for those who do not. But this is not the time for it. We don't have the time. But nice to see you. The last time I interacted with you, you were a maiden. Now you're a mother of two, but still delectable, which is good. Now, this fear, you will not know it if you do not try it. Most Nigerians, since 1999, restructuring. Then when it comes to policing, community policing, most police officers don't even know what it is about. Community policing, when there's donor agency money to spend, then they put one man who has 2 weeks to retire from the police in charge of community policing. State, the native authority and the local government police that I studied in depth were community policing practice par excellence. Again, no time to elaborate. This fear, Maokwe, will remain forever. Whether you allow state police or not, you just conducted elections in Ondo, fairly straightforward. In Edo, you knew how much noise was made about involvement of the police. Now, the fear is just about not wanting it. But President Bola Tinubu, who is doing restructuring practically, and many do not even seem to know where the man is headed. You see this local government autonomy thing that you not get your money direct, and God bless the Attorney General, sent a note yesterday, sounded a note of warning. You connive or collude with your governor to do what is not right. Your governor has immunity. You will go to jail. Your governor will walk away. Now, by the time local governments have this autonomy, then you are kicking in gradually. We are going to be holding governments more accountable at lower levels other than the federal. So when you create state police, the healthy competition that will ensue is what is going to make the difference. If state police is finally constitutionalized today, Lagos will be ahead of the others because the Lagos neighborhood, whatever the acronym that it has, is already there, ready. Those who have constituted Amotekun will now just convert and let nobody kid about it. There's no running away from just en masse recruiting those who are doing Amotekun now into the state police. With time, you separate the grain from the chaff. The fear will remain, but as the challenges come up, and Nigerians, to be fair, are much more critical now of those who govern us than before, because the avenues for complaint are wider, and the scurrilousness of commentators quite frightening. So you want to try any monkey trick, you have the commentators to deal with. So the fear will remain, but that should not deter us from trying. And try, President Bola Tinubu, from my distance here, seems to be determined to do. We'll cross the bridge when we get there.
Ayo.
Well, thank you, Malkwa. You know, one of the, let me take it back to Mr. Enolego. Now, the fears that you have expressed, they are as age-long as they come. But then the challenges of internal security are no less. And this is actually for Mr. Analysts in the studio in Abuja. So where do we go from here? What are the alternatives? I remember how many months ago, even years ago, the community policing initiative was initiated. Till date, people are wondering what's going on. Even the states themselves have made attempts at starting up what their own version of community policing or state police, whatever you want to call it, with Amotekun in the southwest and some others in the southeast and a number of other parts of the country like that. So where do we go from here? We're helpless.
Well, first of all, the police, unlike other security organizations, is not really for regime protection. And so officers who are professional have always had problems. And that is why you find a commissioner of police in a state, he stays 2-3 months, the governor says, look, I'm not comfortable with this guy. Because the IG and the police service commission, in deploying commissioners of police and other senior officers to states, the governors, to some extent, give acceptance, otherwise they don't receive support. The issue is, the practice of community policing has not really achieved what I think it should achieve. That collaborative relationship that it should exist between the public and the police, I don't think that has been properly ingrained in the mind of officers, because those should start even from recruitment and training. And that's very important, because once the community and the police come together to address issues of crime and criminality, and all bringing their input, the community bringing their own perspective, it helps in managing issues of crime and criminality in our communities. So the police is functioned, is structured in such a way that you are really not, unless you are not trained, once you have been a police officer for up to 4 or 5 years, it's difficult for somebody to tell you, do this and you not do. But the problem is, are you going to have job protection? What are those checks and balances that will be put in place that officers can carry out their work without fear of being harassed? I know the challenges that we have. The challenges of manpower is critical. Police stations that used to have up to 200 personnel now might have up to 60. And then out of those 60, some are used for VIP protection and other ad hoc duties. So the problem that we have, even if we go into state police and every state in the federation, now say we have state police, there are underlying issues that we have not addressed. The issues of training. Go to police training institutions. Because when you are talking about state police, there must be a foundation. And do we have the right foundation in terms of training? Unless states like Lagos, Rivers, maybe Kano, Kaduna.
If you can hear me, Mr. Analysts, those challenges aren't just going to go away because we've been talking about it since forever. There are those who have also said, look, if you're afraid that politicians are going to use them at the state level, there are the allegations that since the Second Republic, the politicians have been using the federal police for whatever interests they may serve. There has to be a middle ground. And I'm sure you have listened to our other guests to also talk about this. Do you have any reactions to some of the issues that he has raised?
Even out of studio, he is somebody that has provided a lot of guidance to me. I have a copy of his book and other publications which he has made available to me. But I am not against state police. What I am saying is, do we have, look at the quantum of complaints. Even the judiciary is not free. From when you watch television, radio commentary, there is a lot of fear in the mind of people. How do you assuage the fears of the public? That is the challenge. Chiefdom police, I just came back from Sierra Leone. They have chiefdom police. And it works well with the National Police Force. So it is not, but if you see, unless you just want to turn a blind eye to it, the desperation. Yeah, somebody stays in power for 8 years. He doesn't want to leave. after leaving, he installed somebody against every parameter of election. And the thing never works. So the fears are real. They are. But the issue of policing is about trust. It's about confidence building. It doesn't matter whether it's state police, it doesn't matter it's the national.
My apologies, Mr. Enole. That trust that you mentioned is something that it seems the police has lost over time and is struggling seriously to get back. But let me take it back to Prof. Now, Prof, one of the accusations, well, challenges that people have had with the police generally is coming from the youth, the young population. Of course, we've been talking about the NSAS since 2020. It came to a head, actually, in 2020. It started well before, 5-6 years before that. Now, what's to say that those who are close to the corridors of power are not going to take advantage of state police apparatus because the principal that they work with has certain sentiments on their side? Do you think there is a need, do you see a need for some kind of parameters to help ensure that the system, the police, is insulated from such influences or from such manipulations against people they presume to be against them?
Thank you, Ayo. There is no absolute way of preventing misbehavior, either by the governing elite or even by the youth you have talked about. Misbehavior will always occur. Now, let me quickly mention this. When I talk about police and regime protection, it is about that aspect of the duties of the police. The police are primarily set up to prevent crime, but when crime has been committed, to detect and bring the criminal to justice and to maintain law and order. When you stretch that second bit, maintenance of law and order, whose law, whose order? It is the law and the order by the incumbent governing elite. So that's where the regime protection thing comes in. It's not an invention by me. It is what happens. But discretion is one thing police officers are encouraged or at times trained to exercise. What is going to happen when state police may have come on board as they are short? The quality of training by owners, that is states who own police, will matter. Then police relations are already covered in my book. That is, in the First Republic, the NA police and local government had relationship with Nigeria Police Force. Not always of peace or amity, but they worked together. Where there was conflict, they resolved. Where they couldn't, those who owned them stepped in. The point is that we have to go this route before we know what the challenges will be. Thank God we're already on the verge of it. We'll get in there.
But isn't that dangerous, Prof? I remember in the First Republic, part of the issues that some people, historians, believe led to the Civil War was that the political elite were also doing all kinds of things, you know, using security apparatus and all of that. The Second Republic, the allegations still remain. But most of these things don't happen when we have unitary system of government in force. So isn't there a way to anticipate some of these issues that could occur and try as much as possible to nip them in the bud well ahead so it doesn't get to a head?
Let me tell you this, Aya. In the First Republic, where there was multi-policing arrangement, the safest part of Nigeria was northern Nigeria because of the manner of recruiting people into the NA police. In the Western Nigeria thing, from 1947, when a British police officer, de Vosea, altered the arrangement and subordinated the local police to the control of the Nigeria Police Force, things changed a little. But Akitola reversed the trend. Long history, we need 3 hours if you must take full advantage of what I know. Now, there is no question about it. If we do not start, we will not know. First Republic that they are talking about, in any republic, those who govern will always exert themselves. And it is not always from the purest of intentions or motives. But when these things happen, when you know what happened to the local government police in Western Nigeria in 1965, you will know that when it is time for citizen revolt, nothing can prevent it. You are not yet here at Channels when I gave them copies of my book. I have an updated, refined version. I can always give you, send your money for postage. I'll give you the book for free so that you read. Now, there's no problem with these things at all. People are just scared about what they barely know. First Republic, when some Nigerians talk about our founding fathers, you keep wondering, if our founding fathers were that good, why did the coup of 1960 January occur? Why? So when they talk and romanticize the past, I'm a historian, thoroughbred one. I just look and laugh because they don't know what they're talking about. If the politicians of the First Republic were that good, pure, why did you have to challenge? In the Second Republic, same story. There are 3 Western Nigerian politicians whose cases I like to use to illustrate the point about misuse of police. Omoboriowo, Odunjo, and SM Afolabi. I'll just give you the names. Snatch Chamberlain's or Marquet's copy for now and read about them.
Okay.
When we have the proper time, we'll talk
certainly
more.
we'll get there. But you know, something that you said, and you've repeated it quite a few times, and that will be my last question because we're out of time. And that is, you talked about regime change every time. And I'm wondering, what regime? There is no regime without the nation. So why is it easier to talk about regime change, and you're not the only one that has talked about it, as opposed to national interests? Don't they play together?
What exactly do you mean? When I talk about regime change, I say under the current constitution, an elected governor with some luck and other antics can stay in office only for 8 years. He must leave. Whether he plans a successor or the citizens are allowed to choose one, he has to leave. That's regime change. And if anything, do you think when we can pick Siminala Ifubara, did anybody think that their crisis will come as fast as it did? What is happening between Kwakwaso and his successor now? And then we can go on and on. Or between Gandhiji and Kwakwaso then. So this thing, there's something you cannot legislate for. You cannot legislate for conduct, for good conduct, and you cannot legislate for conscience. These two are sine qua non if people must enjoy the services of the police they own. But I'm saying that the awareness of the citizens in Nigeria has grown so much. And with this liberation, to quote Fagbemi, that Tinubu has brought for local government, we are in for it. Yes, state police will come, they will work well, where yours is not functioning well. When I talk about Amoteku in the southwest state, you know that you'll be talking about Ondo largely. It's as if they don't even exist in some other states. But I know they are there, but not with the panache that Akedolu put onto the thing.
All right. Thank you very much indeed, Prof. It's a pleasure to have you back on, and we look to having more sessions with you. We'll think about that one now, Prof. Always a pleasure to have you. Well, Mr. Naligu, could you give us your concluding thoughts on this?
Yeah, well, I think state police and all that is about mindset. And it's about public confidence, public trust. State police, federal police, but of course, there will be state police eventually. But
existing alongside federal.
Of course, alongside.
So maybe what we can then do is, do we say how should they be conducted? How should they conduct themselves when it has to do with elections?
Yeah,
as a key gray area.
Even the elections, the role of the police, for me, it does not impact
role of security agencies.
Yeah, security agencies.
We know what happens during that time.
Let me just say something before the program winds up. You see, we must all understand that
Pardon me, my apologies. We need to wrap up.
Yeah,
really.
no, I think Prof is right.
Yeah.
Having only 15 minutes of discussion of such critical subject matter,
oh,
you
dear.
make it 1 hour, and then we can talk more.
Okay, so far 2 votes. So, but we'll see how we can get that 1 hour. No problems. We'll hear both of you, and we'll look forward to having that hour. But if we bring both of you to 1 hour, that's 30 minutes now. You now say no, we want 1 hour, then 2 hours, and it never ends. All right, it's always a pleasure to have both of you on. Well, look at some messages coming through. Let's see if we can take them quickly. This is from Autonomy Victor. He says, it's easy to criticize from the classroom, but it's clear that Tinubu is well-intended and need our support.
I don't know if we have a lot of time. This one is from Pastor Law Alpha Cross. It says Nigerians are suffering big time and the government is promising that its policies will impact upon lives positively. And unfortunately, the economy is nosediving, giving rise to frustration and many trying to survive illegitimately. He says God is not happy.
Well, too many messages to take there. Please do us a favor of going to our
I see a lot of complaint about
some of those things. My apologies, Chamberlain.
I can't hear you.
You know we're out of time. Yeah. The news is up in the hour. I will have less than 60 seconds for that.
Yeah.
Well, just a quick information that there's going to be a live broadcast coming up shortly. In the meantime, I have to take my leave. Thank you so much for your time. I'm Ayo. Have a beautiful weekend.
Yeah, so AEDC, there's a lot of complaint online about your services and people cannot load the token. So they'd like you all to look into it as quick as you can. Well, that wraps it up today on the show. We do thank you all for watching. I'm Chamberlain as well. Yes, Mark?
Indeed, somebody's happier than usual, but thank you so much for watching. I'm Yusuf.
So there's going to be a birthday lecture of the FCT minister, which we're crossing live to Port Harcourt on the hour.